You can increase your chances of water propagating your cuttings if you just follow a few simple steps. In this video, I want to share with you the top 10 steps you should take when water propagating. These are tips I've learned by growing my own plants at home, just like you. And I'll also add the experience I've been fortunate enough to acquire over the past 30 years as a grower and consultant to some of the best growers. So get ready, give this video a like, and let's get into it. Tip number 1, only water propagate cuttings from plants that are healthy and disease-free. Seems simple enough, but a lot of people new to this hobby, and some that have been doing it for a while, decide to take cuttings from a plant that has a deficiency, maybe is infested with pest or disease, and then wonder why the cutting didn't root, or maybe after it rooted, why it didn't thrive. Sometimes you might get lucky doing this, but a healthy cutting will always provide a superior outcome. Tip number 2, choose the right time to propagate. The best time to take cuttings for water propagation is during the plant's active growing season. Also make sure when you take the cutting that it's turgid by making sure the plant is well hydrated prior to making that first cut. Then if you're not going to immediately propagate the cutting, keep it in a cool, moist environment until you can. Maybe you got the cutting from a friend and still have to take it home before you can propagate it. Take a moist napkin, place the cutting in the napkin, and if possible, put it in a plastic baggie. This will help keep it from drying out. Number 3, use sharp, clean tools to make your cuts. This could be scissors, pruning shears, or even a sharp razor blade. A clean cut will help prevent damage to the mother plant and the cutting and give it the highest chance of successfully rooting. Also, to help prevent the spread of disease from one plant to another, make sure to always sterilize whatever tool you're using before using it on a different plant. Tip number 4, make sure to make your cut just below a node. If you don't know, the node is the part of the plant where the petiole is attached to the stem. Right here, make your cut below the node and then remove a few leaves from the lower part of the stem, leaving a few at the top. This will help the plant focus its energy on growing roots instead of maintaining the existing leaves. Number 5, choose the right cutting. With most plants, you'll use a stem that's anywhere from 3 to 6 inches long, and in some cases, like with vining plants, you might be able to get away with one node cuttings, which gives you an opportunity to create many plants or one that's really full. That being said, when you take cuttings from a plant or a cutting, think of the plant you're taking the cuttings from. If, for example, you're propagating a ZZ and only need one cutting, take one that doesn't affect the overall appearance of the mother plant. If you're taking multiple cuttings from, let's say, a heartleaf philodendron, then prune the plant back to try and give it a round, uniform shape. Remember to keep the mother plant happy too. Number 6, for most plants, it's okay to use decent quality tap water to propagate your cuttings in. And for those plants that are a little more fussy, you can use distilled rain or RO water. Also, when you use tap water, let it sit for at least 30 minutes before putting the cutting in it so that it can come to room temperature. Placing your cuttings in water that's either too cold or too hot could negatively affect the chances of them rooting. Tip number 7, make sure the bottom node of the cutting is always submerged. I like to fill my containers to at least 1 inch above the node. This gives me some time in between water changes so that the node never dries out. Some plants root right by the node and others towards the bottom of the stem. When those roots appear, we want to make sure they grow into the water. Number 8, place your propagated cuttings in bright indirect light. This could be under grow lights or near a window. Just make sure that your delicate cutting doesn't receive direct light. This could burn the leaves along with your dreams of the cutting ever rooting. Number 9, change the water or top it off with fresh room temperature water about every 5 days. If you start to see your waters murky, it's best to do a complete water change. When you decide to change the water, as I mentioned before, if using tap water, allow it to sit for at least 30 minutes prior to using it to allow it to reach room temperature. Tip number 10, keep it healthy and fertilized. About a week after you start to see roots popping out, you can start to add fertilizer at a very low rate. What I do is when I fertilize my potted plants, which is usually about once or twice a month, I'll top off my water propagated cuttings with the fertilizer solution. This gives them a little something to keep them growing before I transplant them to soil or continue to watch them grow in the water. Now that you know how to water propagate, watch this video next to learn about the different ways you can propagate a snake plant. Thanks for watching.